You know, Grandma always said that food cooked in large batches, in large quantities, tasted the best. And it doesn't matter if it's a stew or a roasted eggplant dish like we're doing today, she was right. So if you're in the mood for some good, delicious, homey meals, you're in the right place. This is by far my favorite winter preserve of all time. And of course, nostalgia plays a key role in it, just like with all the recipes that I share here on the channel with you guys. But the taste, the flavor, and the satisfaction I get every time I open one of these jars in the dead of winter and I enjoy it with my family is just unbeatable. How about that for an elevator pitch? Did I sell it hard enough? Well, I hope so, because here we go. Sharpen your knives, grab the pots, get that kindling ready for the fire, because today I am sharing with you my grandma's roasted eggplant dip. A winter preserve that was gonna get you hooked for life. As usual in my videos, the ingredients and the quantities for the recipe are gonna be in the description of this video, whereas the video itself is the how-to, just to make it as easy and streamlined to follow as possible. So let's begin, because this is gonna be a long day. But before we begin, I wanna mention two things. Number one, make sure to have a friend, a partner, somebody to help you with this process, because this is not a one-person job. Secondly, before you make the money and time investment into a large batch, make sure to try a smaller batch. See if you like it, see if you enjoy it, see if this is something that you would like to put 20 jars for winter and enjoy it then, or in any other season. Just make sure to take these two steps before you begin, because I would hate to see you going through this whole motion and at the end being like, meh, it's not really for me. Speaking about kindling, this is the first step. Now I understand that most of you have gas or electric stoves and ovens, and I'm not going to force you to go primal here, but know that when it comes to roasting the eggplants and the peppers, there's nothing that will get the job done better than a wood-burning grill or a stove. It's the smokiness that makes this dish unique, savory, and desirable. Still, if this is outside of your powers because you live in the middle of the city, don't despair. You can do this process, you can do the roasting inside of an oven. Just make sure to keep an eye on the vegetables, to turn them on all sides, to make sure that you achieve a nice char of the skin and a full cooking of the flesh of the vegetables. And if you don't have an oven, you can cook them over a fire in a cast iron pot. Same rules apply, turn them around, make sure that the skin gets charred and all of that. Pro tip, if you're roasting them over a wood burning grill, make sure to do it while the flames are strong and dancing. It works over coals as well, but it will take longer and you won't get a whole lot of smokiness imparted to them. While the eggplants and peppers are roasting, prepare a large enough pot with a lid that will fit all of them and have it handy. Once they are done, we want to take them off the grill, put them in the pot, cover it with the lid, and leave them to sit for 30 minutes on the side. The residual heat from the vegetables are going to create a DIY steamer that will help us later with peeling them and preparing them for the next stage. In the meantime, we're going to prepare the other ingredients. The onion we will peel, wash, and chop really small. A food processor comes in handy right now, but if you don't have one, then patience and a good knife will get the job done as quickly as you can chop, chop, chop. Another ingredient we need to prep is garlic, and the same rules apply to it as well. Peel, chop, press, and put aside. Now, let's talk about the root vegetables. The carrots will add sweetness and texture, while the parsnips, though not being an ingredient traditionally used in this dish, was Grandma's secret ingredient. She said it makes the dish taste like a home-cooked meal, and you will get that homey vibe, that homey feeling every single time you open the jar. Especially on those days when everything seems to be falling apart around you, opening a jar of this will make life worth it again. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I can confirm she was right in my case. Try it and let me know in the comments if it worked for you as well. With that being said, when it comes to the root vegetables, we want to peel them, wash them, and grate them. Again, a food processor goes amazing in this situation. If not, just use a hand grater and invest the time in that. By now, our roasted vegetables should be nice and steamed and at a workable temperature so that we can use our hands to peel them. So grab the eggplants and the peppers by the tail and start peeling away the charred skin. It's very important you do this above the pot that you steam them in. We want to keep as much of the juices that drip from them because they are the essence of the vegetables, and they will add that umami, that amazing flavor to the finished product. The peppers as well can be cleaned under a running water tap, but avoid doing this with the eggplants because they would just dissolve in the sink and wash away. Done? Okay, good. The peppers can be chopped small by hand or put through a food processor. Just if you use a food processor, don't chop them so small until it becomes a pepper paste. We want texture. But please listen very carefully to what I'm going to tell you about the eggplants. Chop them by hand 100%. They're already cooked. They don't need a lot of pressure. They don't need a lot of force to get done. You just chop them one way one time and then chop them the other way towards you and you're done. If you put them through a food processor or through a blitzer right now, you're going to destroy the structural integrity of this vegetable that's already cooked. I'm repeating myself. And it's going to become a watery, mushy mess, which is going to negatively impact the end product. So please, just take 5 minutes and chop it all by hand and you won't regret it. Please. Now, before we move to the next step, I want to share a very important tip with you. Eggplant prices, just like red pepper, fluctuates year-round. I learned this lesson the hard way a long time ago, and I'm always on the lookout from spring until autumn for great deals and prices or sales for these two items. Anytime I find a good deal, I buy big, I roast, I peel, and I freeze them in preparation for this time of the year. I try growing them myself, but I live in a climate where even in a greenhouse, they just don't have enough time to ripen. You know, I grow the plant, it's beautiful, it has nice flowers and tiny fruits, and by the time the fruits should grow and develop, winter comes. So good luck. Same with the peppers, same with the eggplants. They just don't grow well here. So take my advice. Prepare for this all year round, no matter what. You know, if you have a freezer, there's no excuse not to, you know, use a small corner of that freezer for this. If you follow my advice, then make sure to save and freeze the juices that you're going to get from this process as well. And now that you have everything ready, your frozen batch and your freshly done batch, make sure to drain the juices from the pot where you peeled the peppers and the eggplants and add all of the juices to the eggplants and the peppers together. And now, right now, we're ready for the main part of this recipe, the cooking part. Whatever type of cook stove you use for the next step is up to you. I prefer a wood burning stove because I just can't get enough of the smoke. And sometimes, you know, it makes me wonder what happened in some of my past lives that I'm so obsessed with smoked food and smoke in general. I don't know, I need to find out. I need to go to a hypnotist or something. Once your stove is up to temperature, we can start cooking. So in a very large pot, add the oil and allow it to heat up. When it reaches cooking temperature, add the onions, peppercorns, laurel leaves, herbs, tomato sauce and tomato paste. Mix well and cook for 15 minutes on medium heat until the onions are soft and some of the moisture that they released has evaporated. Next, we'll add the carrots and the parsnips, and we'll cover the pot with a lid right now because we want the steam to soften the root vegetables a bit. They are tougher than the onions and need more thermic treatment in order to get to the right consistency. We will cook them for 15 minutes at medium heat. When this time has passed, add the eggplants and the red peppers to the mix. If you have a large enough pot to mix all the ingredients, then you're good. If not, if you, like me, decided to go with a large batch, then probably you'll have to split the mix in between multiple pots. Mix everything well so that all the ingredients are fully incorporated in the pots, and at low heat we will cook them for 40 minutes. Now for this last stage, you'll have to stay next to the pots and mix every 5 minutes to ensure that the ingredients won't stick to the bottom of the pots. This is the most important thing you must do if you want to have a perfect end product. If it's going to stick to the bottom of the pot, your batch will become bitter and unappealing to your taste buds. So please grab a podcast or something and keep an eye on the pot for the next 40 minutes. Mix often, mix deep, and don't let the mix stick. Now you'll be there for 40 minutes stirring the pots, and this is the optimal time to sterilize the jars for the next stage. But you're stuck mixing into the pots, probably with both hands like this. And this is why at the beginning I said it's at least 2 people job. So ask your partner now to start sterilizing the jars. You can learn how to do that online. There's a treasure trove, a multitude of sources of information online, from books to videos to articles. I'm not going to turn this into a canning and sterilizing tutorial, because it depends on many aspects, but you can learn that in as little as 1 hour. So ask your partner to start sterilizing the jars and get ready for the next final step. When the thyme is almost done, add the garlic, salt, brown sugar and ground pepper and mix very well one last time. Let it simmer for 5 more minutes and then take it off the heat. This is also a great time to taste it, to see maybe for your taste buds it needs a bit more salt, maybe it needs a bit more pepper. This is the time to add the last finishing touches. So go for it. Once you're happy with the taste, we want to leave the pots alone for 15 minutes to cool off. In the meantime, prepare your jars, your funnel, your ladle, your lids, everything, so that the next stage, which is filling in the jars, is as easy and as quick as possible. While the pots are cooling off, I want to share with you a very important tip, and it's called Headspace. And no, Headspace is not an app for being mindful and meditation, or maybe it is, but in this case, Headspace is the distance between the product and the lid. We want to leave at least 4 centimeters or almost 2 inches in between the dish, the product, and the top of the lid, because in the canning process, which I suggest you do to make sure that they last a whole season, a whole year, in the canning process, the pressure pushes the product upwards, and if you only have a very small space between the product and the lid, there's a high risk of the jar exploding, of the lid just coming off and spreading all of this product inside of your pressure canner and just making a huge mess, and you're losing the product. You made such a huge investment, you made such a huge time investment as well. It would be a shame to mess it all up now at the end. So leave headspace. By the time I finished canning all of the jars, it was nighttime. Yes, it is a time-consuming process, but it's also worth it, because think about it. You invest 1 day for a full pantry of amazing food that would last a whole winter, or realistically speaking, a whole year. 1 day for a whole year of food safety and security, I think it's a very good investment. The only thing that I'm going to mention about canning is make sure that you have a couple of warm blankets handy when you do this whole process. And this is another of my grandma's secrets. You know, just like humans, canned jars like to snuggle under a warm blanket. That's not true. But the point of the blankets is that we want to allow the jars to cool off as slow as possible. Usually it takes a whole day. So if I'm finishing my canning now in the evening, in the night, I'm gonna come back and handle them or check on them at least minimum of 24 hours after. We want to make sure that we put all of the jars in a single layer. We're not gonna put anything on top of the lids to ensure that the hermetic seal that we want them to have is there and is not going to be compromised, because otherwise they won't last a whole season or a whole year. So blanket on the bottom, jars coming out of the canner straight away on the blanket, and then blankets on top, as many as you have. You know, the more temperature you allow them to have after the canning, the better it is for the whole process. In my case, I checked on them after 20 hours and they were properly cooled off, giving me the opportunity to take them home and put them in my pantry. But you can use a cupboard, a cellar, whatever possibility you have to store this amazing preserve for winter. Just make sure it's dry and that it's outside of direct sunlight. And congratulations, you just made the fantastic dish that's also a winter preserve. And no matter if you made a small batch just to try it or a large batch like myself, now you have the knowledge to be more self-sufficient and self-reliant for the future, to ensure that when the opportunity arises and the prices are small, enough to buy in bulk, you can do that. You can prepare and you can make this dish to feed your family the nutrition, the vitamins and the minerals that they need throughout the winter months. I'm just happy that you followed along, all of you who did, and all of you who don't have the confidence to do this, just do a small batch. Just cut the recipe in the description into as small as you can afford, as small as you can confidently start, and just try it. I guarantee that this is going to be something amazing that probably most of you out there never tried. In the dead of winter or on a dark spring morning, when you wake up as early as possible to tackle another day in this adventure we call life, this dish will give you not only the nutrition you need, but also a warm fuzzy feeling of being loved and taken care of and provided for, because this is it. This is why I personally do this preserves and dishes, because I want to provide for my family, because I want to make sure that the food that we eat is not just there to fill up the stomach, you know, it's there to keep us healthy and happy and with enough energy and life force to enjoy this small amount of time that we have on this planet. With that being said, I just want to thank you very much for your time, for your patience, and for your curiosity and interest in this type of content. It's not the most flashy content out there, but I'm sure that the right people are going to find this video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and share it with others, and I will see you next time, hopefully with another winter preserve or something like that, if this video does well. Bye bye.